The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. Carl Jung. There comes a moment in life's quiet, subtle, almost unnoticeable, when something inside you shifts. Maybe it happens in the middle of a normal day, while you're washing dishes or scrolling your phone or pretending to laugh at something that doesn't really matter. Maybe it happens late at night when the world is silent and you're finally alone with your thoughts, and suddenly, something cracks. Something opens. A strange, unsettling awareness rises in your chest. Whispering a truth you've spent your whole life avoiding, you are not living as yourself. It hits you like a flash sharp. Undeniable, impossible to unfeel, and it scares you. Not because you're weak, but because deep down, you know it's true. At first it sounds strange. Why would accepting yourself be terrifying? Why would facing your own truth feel more threatening than any mistake, any failure, any loss? But Jung meant something deeper, much deeper. He understood that the moment you truly face yourself, your desires, your wounds, your forgotten dreams, your unlived life, everything changes. The life you've been living suddenly begins to feel too small. The roles you've been playing start to feel like costumes. The path you've been walking no longer feels like your own. Because accepting yourself isn't a gentle realization, it's a revolution, a breaking, a becoming. And once it begins, nothing, absolutely nothing, can ever stay the same. Jung believed that this sensation, the feeling that something is missing, is not a flaw, not a weakness, and not a crisis. It is a message from the soul. A message most people ignore until it grows too loud to dismiss. Today, you and I are going to walk into that silence, into that longing, into that feeling that refuses to go away. Not to escape it, but to finally understand it. Because the reason you feel like something is missing is because there is something missing. And Jung spent his entire life teaching people how to find it again. There comes a point in life, often quietly, without warning, when the outer world no longer satisfies the inner one. You may be doing everything you were taught to do, building a career, maintaining relationships, taking care of family, showing up to your responsibilities, keeping yourself busy with routines and hobbies. On the surface, your life may appear stable, even successful. Yet beneath that structure, there exists a subtle restlessness that never fully goes away. It lingers in the pauses between moments, in the silence after the noise settles. In the small spaces you rarely examine because you're afraid of what you might discover there. This feeling often appears at night, when you're lying awake and the distractions of the day have finally loosened their grip. It slips into the middle of conversations where you suddenly feel disconnected from the words coming out of your own mouth. It arrives after achievements that should feel meaningful, but instead fall flat, leaving behind an empty echo instead of fulfillment. That quiet dissatisfaction, that unexplainable yearning is the first whisper that something within you has begun to shift. Inevitably, questions arise. Why do I feel this way? What is missing? What is wrong with me? Why can't I be satisfied with what I already have? You may even feel guilty for wanting more when you know you're fortunate compared to others. And yet, guilt never resolves the longing. It only buries it deeper. But if Carl Jung were sitting across from you in this moment, he would say gently, without hesitation, "There is nothing wrong with you. You are not broken. You are not failing. You are awakening." The feeling that something is missing is not a defect, is a message. A signal, a pull from a deeper, more ancient part of you. It is the soul tugging lightly at your sleeve, trying to draw your attention back inward. It is the beginning of the inner journey most people spend their entire lives avoiding. The psyche rarely communicates through dramatic revelations. It whispers, it nudges. It uses subtle forms of discomfort, boredom, emptiness, dissatisfaction, a vague hunger for something you can't articulate. These feelings are not punishments. They are invitations. They indicate that you are living at a distance from your true self, that somewhere along the path of becoming who you needed to be for the world, you lost touch with who you are meant to be for yourself. At some point, You may realize you have abandoned a part of your inner world, perhaps out of fear, survival, cultural conditioning, or simply because you were too busy trying to meet expectations. Yet that abandoned part does not disappear. It waits for you. It watches quietly from the shadows of your consciousness, hoping you will turn toward it again. Most people try to silence this internal stirring the moment it appears. They work harder, buy more things, fill their schedules until there is no room for silence. They scroll endlessly, chase constant stimulation, or try to convince themselves that wanting something deeper is ungrateful or unrealistic. But avoidance never resolves the ache. It only delays the awakening, because the soul does not negotiate. It does not go away when ignored. It does not accept substitutes or distractions. The soul waits patiently, silently, persistently. It waits for the moment you are finally ready to listen, ready to stop running, ready to turn inward and ask the question you have been avoiding. What part of me is calling to be found? This quiet feeling you can't explain is not the beginning of a crisis. It is the beginning of a return, the earliest sign that your inner life is ready to rise into your awareness, asking not for perfection, but for presence. It is the first step toward a more authentic existence, one in which the outer and inner worlds finally begin to speak to each other again. Jung taught that every human being carries within them two parallel lives. The life you are handed by the world and the life that quietly grows inside you, waiting for its moment to be lived. One is shaped by expectations, family, culture, society, tradition. The other is shaped by your inner truth, your instincts, your soul's natural direction. Both lives coexist, but rarely in perfect harmony. Most people spend their early years fully absorbed in the external life, doing what is required to belong, to be seen, to succeed. Meanwhile, the inner life waits patiently, gathering strength until you are ready to acknowledge it. These two lives begin together, almost seamlessly. But over time, they start to drift apart. Not through dramatic ruptures or sudden revelations, but through countless small decisions you hardly notice as you make them. You say yes when you want to say no. You shrink yourself to avoid disapproval. You choose comfort over authenticity. You silence emotions that feel too inconvenient or too heavy. Each time you betray a part of yourself, however subtle it pulls, the two lives a little farther from each other. You take the job that others admire. Even if it suffocates you, you tell people you're fine. Even when something inside you feels like it's fading, you follow the path that seems rational. Even while a quieter voice inside begs for something different, you choose predictability, because uncertainty scares you more than stagnation. You learn to hide the parts of yourself that feel too passionate, too sensitive, too imaginative, too much for the world around you. Slowly, you learn to perform a version of yourself that feels acceptable. Jung called this constructed version the persona, the mask you wear so you can function, connect, and protect yourself in the social world. The persona helps you navigate life. Without it, you would feel exposed and overwhelmed. It allows you to have a job, relationships, boundaries, and stability. But the problem begins when the mask hardens, and you forget that it is a mask. When you start to believe the persona is your true self, the inner world, the living world beneath the mask, begins to retreat. The soul withdraws quietly, not out of anger, but out of necessity. It cannot speak through the persona, because the persona is built to please others, not to reveal truth. It cannot thrive in a life organized around what is expected rather than what is essential. And so the inner life becomes faint, dim, distant, yet never gone. It sends signals instead, a sense of emptiness that lingers even on good days, a quiet ache that arises when the world gets quiet, a feeling that you are standing one step outside your own experience, never fully inside your life. This emptiness is often misunderstood. People assume something external must be wrong: work, relationships, hobbies, circumstances. But the ache isn't caused by what is happening around you. It is caused by what is missing within you. It is the feeling of living a life that looks successful on the outside, but feels incomplete on the inside. A life that functions but does not fulfill. A life that appears whole yet is built on quiet self-abandonment. The dissatisfaction is not a punishment. It is information. It tells you that your outer life and inner life no longer align. It tells you that the part of you meant to grow, evolve, express, create, and feel has been sidelined. It reminds you that the life you are living is not fully your life. Yet, this is the beginning of Jung's divided self. The moment you realize the life you show the world and the life you feel inside are no longer the same man that your soul is gently calling you back to the path where they can become one. Again, Jung believed that the deepest suffering a human being experiences does not come from failure or rejection, or loss, though those wounds cut sharply. The greatest source of inner pain, he said, comes from the unlived life. The parts of yourself you were meant to grow into but never did. The dreams that once lit your imagination but slowly dimmed as the world told you to be realistic, reasonable, responsible. These lost possibilities do not disappear. They become shadows, silent, persistent, and heavy. They follow you through the years, surfacing in unexpected moments, reminding you of what could have been, what still could be. If only you allowed yourself to turn toward them. The unlived life is built piece by piece. It forms through every dream you talked yourself out of because you feared disappointment, through every truth you swallowed because you didn't want to upset anyone, through every instinct you ignored because it didn't fit the life you were supposed to live. It grows each time you silence a desire that feels too risky, too bold, too different from what others expect. You may not notice the loss at first. It's subtle, almost quiet, a faint pull in the background of your days. But over the years, those small betrayals accumulate, and you begin to feel a weight you can't explain. Those abandoned parts of you don't disappear. They remain within you, waiting for recognition. Jung said they'd become psychic ghosts, unseen, unheard, but deeply felt. They haunt your daily routines, not to torment you, but to remind you that you have unfinished business with your own soul. You may feel this haunting as a sudden sadness that washes over you for no clear reason, or as a longing that has no obvious object. Sometimes it's a gentle ache, the sensation that something essential is missing from your life, even when everything looks fine from the outside. Other times it's a sharper jolt, a moment when you realize you've become a spectator in your own story, watching yourself live a life that doesn't feel like your own. This longing is not weakness. It is intelligence, psychic intelligence. It is the soul saying, there is more for you. You have not yet met the person you could become. The unlived life holds the talents you never fully explored, the passions you set aside for later, the creativity you convinced yourself wasn't practical. It carries the voice you quieted to keep the peace, the relationships you failed to nurture, the truths you never spoke aloud. It contains the version of you that is more alive, more courageous, more whole. Jung insisted that the psyche does not accept permanent abandonment. Every part of you that you've rejected, suppressed, or minimized waits patiently to be reclaimed. These parts do not age. They do not weaken. They simply wait. And they wait not with judgment, but with longing for the day you turn inward, listen deeply, and invite them back into your life. Because the unlived life was never a fantasy or an illusion. It is the map of your potential, the blueprint of your inner growth. It shows you the direction your soul wanted to move before fear, guilt, duty, and conditioning pulled you off course. And the ache you feel today, that quiet heaviness, that subtle sadness that follows you through moments you expected to feel joy, that is the toll of neglecting your true path, not as punishment, but as guidance. It is your inner life reminding you that you are meant for more than survival, more than performance, more than the life you've settled for. It is an invitation, a gentle but powerful call to turn back toward the forgotten parts of yourself and begin living what has long remained. You unlived. Jung believed that the soul does not vanish when ignored. It simply becomes quieter. It retreats, not out of anger, but out of protection. The soul is the most authentic part of you, the part that knows what you truly want, who you truly are, and what you quietly long for beneath all the noise. But when you repeatedly silence it, whether out of fear, pressure, or habit, it begins to withdraw. It stops offering guidance openly. It folds itself inward. It waits. The soul turns quiet when you ignore your intuition, those subtle inner nudges that tell you something is off. Something is calling, something needs to change. Every time you override those whispers with logic, fear, or the expectations of others, the soul steps back a little more. Intuition is the language of the psyche, and when you silence it, you silence the part of you that knows the truth before the mind catches up. It turns quiet when you deny your emotions. Emotions are not weaknesses. They are signals, energy, messages from deep within. But many people are taught to suppress them, to hide sadness, to dismiss anger, to fake happiness. When you repeatedly push your emotions away, the soul learns that expressing itself is unsafe. It retreats because you have shown it that its truth is unwelcome. It turns quiet when you prioritize approval over truth. When you bend yourself into shapes that please everyone but yourself. The more energy you spend meeting expectations, the less energy you have for authenticity. And when you build a life around what others want, the soul feels pushed aside, relegated to a corner while the persona, the mask you show the world, takes center stage. The soul also becomes quiet when you choose security over authenticity. Safety has a powerful pull. You may stay in a job that drains you, a relationship that stifles you, or a routine that suffocates you simply because it feels predictable. But the soul thrives on meaning, not comfort. And every time you choose comfort over truth, the soul steps further into the unconscious. Waiting for the moment you are brave enough to hear it again, it retreats when you silence your imagination, when you stop dreaming. Stop envisioning possibilities. Stop allowing yourself to be inspired. Imagination is the bridge to the unconscious, the doorway to creativity, meaning, and inner growth. Without it, life becomes mechanical, predictable, hollow. When imagination dies, the soul grows quiet because its most natural channel of expression has been closed, and the soul withdraws when you dismiss your deeper needs. When you deny your longing for connection, rest, purpose, beauty, wonder, or inner peace. You may tell yourself you don't need these things, that they are optional luxuries. But the soul knows better. These needs are not trivial. They are fundamental. Ignoring them does not make them disappear, makes you slowly disappear from your own life. But the soul does not punish. It protects. When it retreats, it is not abandoning you, it is waiting for a safer moment to speak. It withdraws into the unconscious, where it continues to send messages. But more quietly now, through symptoms instead of words. You may feel unexplained fatigue, like you're carrying a weight no one else can see. Numbness, as if the colors of life have faded. Restlessness that loops endlessly, even when nothing is wrong on the surface. A heavy sadness that feels like depression, but is actually disconnection. A loss of passion, motivation, or direction. Difficulty making decisions because every option feels flat. A sense that you're living on autopilot, drifting rather than choosing. Most people interpret these symptoms as signs that something is wrong with them. But Jung insisted that these sensations mean something is right. These are not malfunctions, they are messages. Signals that your inner world is trying to correct your outer world. Warnings that you have strayed too far from your truth. Invitations to return to yourself. Your soul is not silent. It is speaking through the heaviness, the restlessness, the emptiness. It is trying gently, persistently to call you home. Carl Jung's idea of the shadow is one of the most misunderstood and most powerful concepts in psychology. People hear the word shadow and think of darkness, danger, or negativity. But Jung meant something far more profound. He believed that the shadow is not just the dark side of your personality, it is the exiled side. It is the part of you you had to bury in order to be accepted, loved, and safe in the world you grew up in. And for most people, the shadow contains not only anger or fear, but brilliance, creativity, sensitivity, intuition, and truth. Think about every moment in your life when you were told to calm down. Stay quiet, be good, fit in, don't be dramatic, don't want too much, don't draw attention. Every time you felt misunderstood, or too emotional, or too intense, or too ambitious. Those feelings didn't vanish. They simply sank deeper. The parts of you that weren't welcomed, praised, or rewarded became the shadow, sealed off in your unconscious so you could survive, adapt, and belong. Your shadow is the collection of all the desires you censored because they felt too risky, the truths you swallowed because they weren't convenient, the hurt you never admitted, the boundaries you were too scared to set, the dreams you hid because no one believed in them, the strength you pretended not to have, the sensitivity you numbed because the world made you feel weak for having it. None of these parts disappeared. They are alive, just hidden, and they are the reason you feel like something is missing. Why? Because you cannot feel whole while rejecting pieces of yourself. You cannot feel alive if the most vibrant, passionate, instinctive parts of your being are locked away. You cannot feel fulfilled while living a life designed to please the world rather than reflect your truth. The shadow keeps knocking because it contains the energy you need to move forward. Jung believed that the shadow holds your unlived life, the life you were meant to express before fear and conditioning silenced you. It holds the creativity you abandoned to be practical, the courage you buried to stay safe, the voice you swallowed to avoid conflict, the instincts you muted to stay polite, the love you withheld to avoid vulnerability, the dreams you dismissed because no one else understood them. And here is the paradox. The shadow is painful. It's because it contains everything you're missing. People think they fear their darkness, but what they truly fear is their light, their power, their authenticity, their unfiltered, unedited, unapologetic self. The shadow is terrifying because reclaiming it means changing your life. It means confronting the truth that you have lived according to expectations instead of essence. It means stepping into a life that is undeniably yours. When you integrate your shadow, you reclaim your inner fire. You begin to feel again, feel passion, feel clarity, feel aliveness. You regain the ability to make choices that reflect who you are, not who you were told to be. You begin to speak the truth you've kept buried. You reconnect with your instincts, your intuition, your deeper knowing. This is why Jung said the shadow is the gateway to meaning. Inside it lies everything you have been searching for. The shadow is not the darkness in you. It is the light you were too afraid to show. It is the part of you that once felt unsafe, but now, finally, it's ready to return home. There comes a moment in life when the life you've been living, the carefully constructed routine, the roles you've perfected, the mask you've polished for the world, suddenly feels inadequate. The persona you've worn for years begins to crack. The applause, the approval, the accomplishments, they no longer fill the emptiness inside. This is the collision between the life you show the world and the life your soul has been quietly longing for. Jung called this the individuation crisis, the moment when your inner self refuses to remain silenced, and the old identity can no longer contain your true potential. The collapse of the old self is not gentle. It is a disruption, a shakeup that can feel terrifying. You may wake up one day and notice a pervasive sense of emptiness. The routines that once comforted you now feel like chains. Even your achievements may taste hollow. Conversations, tasks, social interactions, everything seems muted, as if life itself has lost its color. This isn't depression, though it may feel like it. It's the soul asserting itself, saying, this life is too small. This version of you is not enough. Many people instinctively fight this collapse. They try to return to the familiar, to cling to the roles that once brought validation. They dive back into work, relationships, or routines with greater intensity, hoping to silence the discomfort. They attempt to push the feeling down, to ignore the whisper of their soul in favor of the predictable hum of their old life. But the soul does not negotiate. Once awakened, it will not allow itself to be ignored. The emptiness persists because it is not a problem to be solved. It is a message to be heard. This period of collapse can manifest in many forms. You may feel confused about your identity, unsure of who you truly are beyond the masks you wear. You may experience spiritual fatigue, a sense of being disconnected from the world and from yourself. Even daily decisions may feel overwhelming, as if every choice now carries the weight of existential significance. You might question everything you once believed about success, happiness, or purpose. In Jungian terms, this is the soul forcing you to confront the mismatch between your persona and your authentic self. It is important to understand that this collapse is not a failure, it is a necessary stage of growth. The soul is not punishing you, it is guiding you. Jung emphasized that the individuation process, the journey toward wholeness, is not optional. It is the nature of the psyche to evolve, to demand alignment between the inner and outer self. The collapse is the breaking open of space that allows something new, deeper, and more authentic to emerge. It is the clearing away of the old so the soul can finally breathe and lead. During this time, resistance is natural. Fear often accompanies the collapse, the fear of uncertainty, the fear of losing security, the fear of disappointing others, the fear of being truly seen. But resistance only prolongs the discomfort. The more you try to hold on to the old self, the more the soul will pull, demanding that you face what has been neglected for too long. It is a force of nature, relentless and unwavering, pushing you toward growth, even when the path is unclear. Ultimately, the collapse of the old self is an invitation. It is a call to step inward, to reconnect with the parts of yourself you have abandoned, to reclaim your shadow, to listen to your inner voice, and to rediscover the life that aligns with your deepest truth. The old identity, built on compromise and survival, can no longer contain the fullness of who you are. And once you answer the call, the emptiness transforms from a source of despair into a doorway, a gateway to wholeness, authenticity, and a life that finally feels truly yours. Growth is not optional for the soul. It is its nature. And the collapse of the old self is the signal that the journey toward your real life is ready to begin. So what is this missing path? The one you feel slipping through your fingers? Jung believed that every individual carries an inner blueprint, a secret map of the life your soul is meant to lead. This is not a roadmap defined by achievement, accolades, or societal approval. It is a path that resonates with the deepest layers of your being, a direction that instinctively feels right. Even if your conscious mind has forgotten it, it is a life the soul wants to create, a journey toward alignment, wholeness, and truth. Your forgotten path is composed of the things that make you feel truly alive. It is the work that fills you with purpose, the relationships where you feel genuinely seen, and the creative impulses you have hidden away because they seemed impractical or indulgent. It is the spiritual call you have postponed, the childhood passions you abandoned, the inner voice that never stopped whispering, even when you told yourself it was childish or irrelevant. Every tug of longing, every moment of dissatisfaction, is a quiet nudge guiding you back toward this path. Yet most people drift away from their inner blueprint without realizing it. From an early age, we are taught to value security over passion, to seek approval over authenticity, to favor logic over intuition, productivity over creativity, and obedience over individuality. We follow scripts written by parents, schools, and societies, assuming that by meeting external expectations, we will find fulfillment. But what we often find instead is a growing emptiness, hollowness that no amount of success, social validation, or material gain can fill. Jung would say that this emptiness is not punishment. It is orientation. It is the psyche's way of saying, not this way. Turn back. The restlessness, the dissatisfaction, the subtle sense of being unmoored is the soul reaching out, reminding you that there is a life waiting for you that aligns with who you truly are. The message is not fix your life by changing everything at once, but rather start paying attention. Begin to listen to the whispers inside you. The further you move from your inner blueprint, the stronger the emptiness becomes. You may find yourself questioning your choices, feeling disconnected from work, relationships, or even your own daily routines. Achievements lose their luster, and experiences that once excited you now feel flat. This is the soul signaling that something vital has been neglected, that your inner life and outer life are out of harmony. The more you ignore it, the louder the call becomes. Until you are faced with a choice, continue drifting or begin the journey back to yourself. Reconnecting with the forgotten path does not require radical change overnight. It begins with noticing. Pay attention to the moments when you feel most alive, when time seems to dissolve, when your heart feels open. Notice the activities, conversations, and creative impulses that awaken curiosity and joy. These are the markers of your soul's path, the compass pointing toward wholeness. Small steps toward these experiences accumulate, slowly recalibrating your life in alignment with your deeper self, the journey back to your souls. Forgotten path is profoundly intimate. It requires honesty and courage. The courage to face the life you've been living and the humility to admit that it has not been enough. It asks that you honor your true desires, even when they conflict with expectations, and that you reclaim the parts of yourself you have abandoned. This path is not about perfection or external success. It is about authenticity and meaningful engagement with your own inner world. Ultimately, the forgotten path is not lost. It waits quietly, like a river beneath the surface, ready to flow once you remove the obstacles you've built in your own way. It is not about doing everything differently, but about turning inward, listening deeply, and gradually stepping in the direction your soul has always known. This is the path to alignment, fulfillment, and wholeness, the life that has been waiting for you all along. Your soul is not asking for grand gestures. It is asking for attention. It is asking for presence. It is asking you to listen. And when you do, the missing pieces begin to fall into place, and life begins to feel like your own again. Here is the truth. Jung spent decades trying to explain the thing you feel is missing is you, not the you that performs, not the you that pleases others, not the you that meets expectations, not the you that stays small to be liked, the real you, the one you left behind. When you learned to survive, the one who held dreams you stopped believing, in the one who knew what you loved before you convinced yourself it wasn't practical, the one who felt deeply before you learned to numb your heart, the one who had instincts before you learned to doubt them, the one who wanted more before you learned to settle. The emptiness you feel is the space where your real self belongs, the self you abandoned to become who you thought you needed to be. Jung said the greatest tragedy is not death, but the loss of the self. The soul will not allow that loss to go unnoticed. It speaks through longing, through dissatisfaction, through a quiet inner pull toward something you can't yet name. That pull is the invitation. Before you find the missing pieces, something important must happen. You must descend. Jung called this descent the night. See journey, the period where you feel lost, empty, uncertain, directionless. This is not failure. It is the beginning of transformation. During this descent, your old identity dissolves. Your old roles feel suffocating. Your old motivations lose power. Your old life feels it's too small. You may feel like you are falling apart, but in Jungian psychology, falling apart is the first step toward becoming whole. You cannot find your soul without first losing your old self. This descent feels like an ending, but it is a beginning. It is the moment the soul taps you on the shoulder and says, "It's time. Time to stop pretending. Time to stop avoiding. Time to stop shrinking. Time to reclaim what was lost, to find what's missing." Jung said you must reconnect with your inner world. You must face your shadow, track your dreams, listen to your intuition, follow what feels alive. Allow yourself to change. Allow yourself to become who you were always meant to be. The soul is not found in achievement, but in authenticity, not in perfection, but in wholeness, not in success, but in inner truth. What's missing is the life you have not lived yet, and it is waiting for you. If you feel like something is missing, if you feel restless, empty, or disconnected, If your life looks fine on the outside but feels hollow on the inside, know this: you are not broken. You are not failing, you are awakening. This feeling is not the end of your story, it is the beginning of your real story, the one your soul has been waiting for you to. Right? Jung believed that when life loses meaning, when everything feels empty and out of sync, when you feel a quiet ache you cannot explain, those moments are the closest you ever come to the truth. Because the feeling that something is missing is the soul's way of saying, come home. You've lived the life others wanted. Now live the life you were born for. The path is not lost. It is inside you. It always has been. And now, it's time to return to it.